Help support AMTV by becoming a patron, an AMTV staff member, and following us over on Twitter. Hi there guys, it's Adam Martyn here, and welcome back to another unscripted discussion video. This time we're going to be talking about some Doctor Who related news. Now this time, various articles have headlines that basically say that the BBC is in talks with Disney Plus over streaming Doctor Who. Now just to point out at the very start of this, I've seen some people being like, oh wait, hang on, is Disney buying Doctor Who? Is that the only place it's going to be? As far as we know, that's not the case. They're just talking about streaming rights. Of course, any TV program or series worth its salt ends up on one of these streaming platforms by one of these big companies, whether that's from the company that originally broadcast it or a third-party provider. So the article I'm choosing to read is from the Radio Times, but there's several different outlets that have reported this, IGN, TV Zone, there's loads. But this is what the Radio Times says. Disney is reportedly in talks with the BBC about acquiring the streaming rights to a future season of Doctor Who. According to a new Bloomberg report, the long-running sci-fi show could potentially air globally on Disney Plus while still airing on the BBC. So right there, that implies to me that if a deal was to be reached, it would still say air on BBC One first and foremost, and then maybe either like the next day or sometime after that, Disney Plus will get the streaming rights, which means then you can watch it there. I think I'll read more about the article first, then we'll talk about the Doctor Who state on the streaming world, if you like. Bloomberg states that Disney is attempting to acquire more established entertainment properties for its streaming service, but does, however, note that talks are still at an early stage, with no guarantee that a deal would be reached. I mean, the rest of it just sort of talks about, obviously, Ncuti Gatwa coming in and Russell T Davies returning. There's not more meat on the bones, really. But just to explain where Doctor Who's at streaming, so 2005 onwards, the revival, so anything with Christopher Eccleston onwards, you can currently access that on the BBC iPlayer here in the UK. All 13 series are currently available. And to be honest, they've renewed these on here for quite a long time. So that's your one-stop shop for New Who, post-2005. Classic Who, streaming-wise, in the UK, it's BritBox, which is, was created by the BBC and ITV, though ITV are now the majority stakeholders. BritBox costs £5.99 a month, that you can get a 7-day free trial, and recently it was announced that BritBox will sort of be folded into a subsection of ITVX, which is the other side's new streaming service launching later in 2022. I actually did a whole video about the terrestrial streaming sites like the iPlayer, ITVX, all that stuff, so go and check that out if you want to learn more. In the US, one of the, arguably the biggest entertainment market, I believe New Who 2005 onwards is available to stream on HBO Max, which again is a paid subscription service, and I think Classic Who again is BritBox, but for US viewers, so that they both do currently exist. This deal here sort of implies maybe, well, it's concerning the upcoming series, so not the 60th anniversary, not the centenary that's coming this year. The series, I'm guessing it implies, will be, I guess, what will be the Series 14, Ncuti Gatwa's first full series as the Doctor. Now, we don't have a confirmed air date for that, really. Some are speculating it could be early 2024. I think it might be a bit later than that, given that I don't think they've started shooting that new series of Doctor Who yet. That could be maybe summer 2024. Who knows? So let's assume that it's from Ncuti Gatwa onwards. So are Disney Plus only going to have the rights to that series? Or are they going to have New Who? Or even bigger, are they going to go one step further? Are they going to get all of Doctor Who? I'd actually think initially no, because when we talked about ITVX in a previous video, one article reported that, it said a lot of non-ITV content that's on BritBox will be carrying on over, and it actually specified including the 600 plus episodes of classic Doctor Who. Now, I'm not on the inside on this. I don't know what deals were made, what the exclusivity was, but let's just assume when BritBox launched here in the UK, classic Doctor Who was agreed to be on there for a specific amount of time. But now that the BBC is not a stakeholder, it's ITV who sort of own or operate the whole thing, or they're the full stakeholder, whatever you want to call it. The BBC doesn't have that inside pitch anymore. So maybe when the rights for Doctor Who run out, is there a potential they might take it from ITVX and reassign it to Disney Plus if this deal goes ahead? Quite possibly. But then again, even if it's not just the Ncuti series, if we're going backwards, even just to Modern Who 2005 onwards, what does this mean for Doctor Who on the iPlayer? Because obviously the iPlayer currently is, it's free to watch. Yes, it's the whole, it says you need a TV license, but generally it is free to watch here in the UK. It gives fans or people who want to get into Doctor Who a good jumping on point. You can start in 2005 with Rose if you just want to stick to the revival era stuff. Tons of episodes on there, obviously. But if it goes to Disney Plus, will it remain on the iPlayer? Or will iPlayer only be able to host the current series? But then this is the question. if they agree a deal with Disney Plus, where say, they're like, right, okay, you get Doctor Who, the streaming rights, so the episode airs and then you guys get to stream it. Does that mean it's not going to be available on the iPlayer? Because the iPlayer, yes, it streams, but fundamentally, its origins were as a catch-up service. So I think by that remit, the new series would have to be on the iPlayer, at least for a little bit of time. I'm not sure if the 1-year availability is like constant on all programs, but certainly for Doctor Who, you'd think it has to be on the iPlayer for a certain amount of time at least, even if there is a timed exclusivity with Disney Plus. One thing I've seen being bandied around is people saying Disney leave Doctor Who alone, don't touch it, don't edit it. Again, as far as we know, as all these articles say, Disney doesn't directly have an involvement with Doctor Who. They're just talking with the BBC. Apparently, again, at the very early stages, they're talking about getting the streaming rights to the show. As far as we know, they're not, they've not got a stake in it. They're not having any creative control over it. It's just to get the streaming rights. Because I know some people, initially I saw some fears that if Disney gets the streaming rights, on Disney Plus, a lot of their shows, they don't have physical releases. Like a lot of the Disney original series, for example, as far as I know, they don't have physical releases on DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, whatever. They are exclusive to Disney Plus. That is the only place you can get them, which makes sense for that. But with properties that aren't bred from the beginning by Disney, like Doctor Who, I don't think they've really got a leg to stand on that. I don't think they can say to the BBC, we're only going to stream Doctor Who if you don't release any DVDs, any Blu-ray, traffic-wise, because that's just counterintuitive to the BBC. I mean, BBC Studios and all the various sub-companies that issue Doctor Who product. I mean, if you look at any Amazon top 10 or any DVD Blu-ray top 10 chart when there's a Doctor Who release out, it always goes in the top 10. Doesn't always go to number 1, but it very usually does top 3 for that first week and does often go to number 1. And that is across the whole spectrum of Doctor Who. That could be, it ranges from Doctor Who Flux, when that came out, that was in the top 10, and it leads to missing episode animations. Some animations of missing episodes from the Hartnell and Troughton era also enter the top 10. So Doctor Who is arguably one of the biggest entertainment properties still when it comes to physical releases. So I think if Disney even tried to sort of encroach and say, we don't want any physical media, I'd like to think the BBC would clap back at that and say, well, no, because it makes us a lot of money, it's very popular, and let's face it, we're Doctor Who fans. If they did, we'll complain about it. But you could argue maybe with a bit better reason than we usually do. Personally, the thing that I'm not concerned about, but I'm curious about, will be the exclusivity thing. Because if Disney's buying up content, as the article says, they want to acquire more established entertainment properties, which is pretty standard practice now, I think, for the streaming sites. You got Disney Plus, Netflix, Amazon Prime Video. Yes, they are producing their own new series, and some of those tend to do very well, but they also rely on the back catalogue. If you say, you might have a memory one day of a certain film or TV show, you want to go back to something nostalgic, something familiar, something you've seen, or maybe something you haven't seen. You go to your streaming service you subscribe to, and you type in search, and sometimes it's there. It's great. Sometimes it's not. So I completely get why Disney wants to get more properties. I mean, their catalogue's massive anyway. They've got Marvel, they've got Star Wars, all the Pixar stuff, their own animated stuff, live act. They've got tons. So the fact they're going for more makes sense. I guess they're trying to get there before the competition does. Because, Doctor Who has been on Netflix before here in the UK. Again, this was, I believe, all of New Who, for a time. I don't know when it stopped. I think it covered it went up to the end of the Capaldi era, I want to say, or near the end. And then around Jodie's time, it went off there, and it's mainly been hosted on the iPlayer. So, Doctor Who has been there before. The BBC isn't against licensing it out to other companies. So I think it's 50-50 at this point. Again, it's just saying this is early days, this is early doors, nothing's been confirmed. But I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments, please. Do you think Doctor Who going on Disney Plus to stream is a good idea? If you think it is, do you think it should just be from the first Ncuti series onwards? Do you think it should be from all of New Who, so post-2005? Or do you think they should go the full shark and try and get all of it? Get it off BritBox, get it off ITVX, get all of Doctor Who on there. I'd be very curious to know. And also let me know on the flip side if you're the opposite. If you think Doctor Who being streamed on Disney Plus isn't a good idea, let me know why in the comments. Leave a like on this video as well if you enjoyed it, and do subscribe to the channel if you're brand new. We'd love to have you aboard. I've been Adam Martyn from AMTV. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Thank you to our patrons for helping to support the show, and a special thank you to Macra, Jen Samantha Pringle, JPK Live, Anna Art, Adam Martyn's biggest fan, Max Jackson, Kelly is Live, Tracy Smith, Britney Fan 1999, Hooks Media, Ben Freeman, Ethan Carberry Holt, The Welsh Lady, Tajan the Video Editor 820, Bruce Danton, The Broken Kitsumanoid, and Cooking at Nan's and DIY are AMTV staff members.